Hello and welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show. I'm your host, Christine Innes, and I'm excited. We're going to have a lot of fun. We've got the beautiful Ange and Kaycee joining me, and they are from an amazing business called Curious Me. I'm super excited because they were also in the issue of the Corporate Escapists magazine, and we're just going to do something a little bit different. We're just going to sit and have a chat because this is what I do. I'm very fortunate and blessed that I get to do what I love most of the time. So, but do you want to share with everybody a little bit about your business? And obviously it's quite unique, and I love it because first of all, you get to work outside every single day, which is great. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about the business and sort of what your mission and values are for the business?
I think that Kaycee and I are on a mission to showcase that early years education is both accessible and can be economical. It's not all about expensive toys and expensive resources and all these things that we can buy in the shops or we can buy online. I think that so many people are caught up in Instagram and Insta picture perfect, and we have to buy these things, but there is so much enrichment for a child just to be outside and just to play, and that you can have just as many amazing learning opportunities with something as simple as a rock or a stick or a flower or a leaf. And I think that is what we're really trying to showcase and what we really try to teach our parents, is that our children can really learn through some of the most simple resources that everybody has available that's accessible.
Yeah. And do you find that it's also, because obviously I've been out there and seen what you do, but I love it because also the kids are actually getting more in tune with their imagination as well. So what they can see is something a little bit different, and they can also help teach their parents as well, the different ways they see things.
At the beginning of each week, I do a planning program, and I set up 7 different play experiences for the children. And I always have in my head, I'm going to put this out, and I'm sure that this is what they're going to do, but they don't. It goes in a totally different direction than what I had planned it. And it just evolves, and then from that week I'll take on what they liked, what they didn't like, what they used most, and I'll try and as the term goes on, and it will grow, and
we're forever changing the program to suit the needs of the children in that particular term, not necessarily not necessarily what we want to do, but what we think the children are most engaged and most interested in.
And it's a sensory playground. I mean, it really is about getting them in, and so that they can touch and feel, and get their hands dirty as well. Because sometimes, I think you said in the magazine, sometimes we're just so overprotective, and I was of my son, don't do that, don't touch this, with it. But there are so much that they can learn from getting in there and understanding about those boundaries themselves of what they can and can't do.
And just leave them be, let them play. And I know it's really, really hard for a lot of parents. And
it's hard for every parent.
It's hard for every especially parent. When they first come and they think that they're a little bit hold up. But I think by, a couple of weeks we've got them, and they
start to understand the value, I think.
And they enjoy being educated in what it is we do and provide for the children.
I think the hardest part for parents is not the risky play that we do. I think it's the unstructured play. So many parents come and go, okay, well, what do we do? Because they're so used to giving their child an activity or a set specific, again, online, you look up things and it's all about these activities and they're specific, these worksheets, and people are starting that, far too early, school readiness programs and all these things. So they come and they go, well, what do we do? And it's like, you follow their lead. You let them drive you and what they're interested in, and you just follow what they want to do. I think the unstructured element is a really difficult concept for some people to grasp.
I just had a really interesting interview just before, and we were talking about strengths, and I feel that, by letting the children play, we're tapping into their own strengths as well, and you can actually start to see that shine within the kids from an early age. And we sometimes even myself, you know, as we get older, we forget about our own strengths and we don't come back to that.
Yep.
Does that get opened up a lot?
Yeah, certainly agree that if you allow a child to do what it is they will and let them take the lead, that they'll definitely develop their strengths early on, and only with time, you know, it will get better and better. And then as, you know, they do go in to make life choices when they're older, they'll be doing things that it is they want to do and that they know that they're good at.
That they're confident in.
Yeah.
And I think allowing them to have that confidence in that area of strength helps in those areas of weakness too.
Yeah.
Like for my son, his gross motor is unreal, especially for a child of his age. He's been riding a scooter since he was like 18 months.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that that was like a big thing, but he was so behind in his speech. But we used his strengths in a way to help with his weakness in order to develop his speech and language, because that was an area he was excelling in. Yeah. And then there was an area in which like we really needed to work on.
Yeah.
So I think if I didn't, I mean, at 2, I could absolutely identify what it is that he loved, what it is that he really enjoyed, and how he could then work on his vocabulary by using those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I love that too, because I think sometimes that, you know, we get so programmed by what you're saying, like it's all Insta ready, you know, like it has to be done now, it has to be this, it has to have filters, it all has to look pretty, you know, but sometimes it's just, let's get back to what is real.
Let's go back to basics.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like some parents get so, but even in like the stuff that we do, you know, it's set up to engage the child so that if they're not interested in it, it might look pleasing, so they'll come over and have a look.
Entice them.
Yeah. But I wish that parents would just forget about all that stuff, and it doesn't have to look gorgeous. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to provide, you know, the children with something, and they'll take that on, and it'll extend on their imagination and their creativity and their gross motor and their fine motor and all those things. But it doesn't have to be set up and be great and be grand all the time.
The most simple things provide the most pleasure.
Yeah. I'll remember with my son, like, I would go and spend so much money on his Christmas presents, but all he wanted to do was open the box. You know, like, honestly, that was the biggest thing.
That's the world.
Yeah.
Like, most open-ended. Exactly.
Yeah.
The box. The box can be anything. Right? Like the stick or the rock.
Yeah.
The leaf. It can be anything for a child's imagination. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it so much. What is the sort of target sort of age group that you work with children?
6 months to 5 years.
Yeah.
Because what we do includes a lot of food-based play. Our babies really have to be on solids. They're welcome to come under that age and kind of dip their toes and whatnot, but we really like to let the children explore with all of their senses, which also includes their mouths.
Yeah. And then we do have some older children that are coming from like homeschooling or basically 6 months.
Yeah, is our primary target. We also get the occasional child with ASD, or that might need some extra sensory support, either sensory seekers or sensory avoiders, as Kaycee is sort of saying. Yeah. But our primary target is those children who aren't yet in school.
Yeah. Well, I'm counting down the months so I can bring my grandbaby. So, you know, we've got a few more months yet to go, but that's okay.
even mothers that haven't gotten out, they're welcome to come. We do free of charge 6 months, so that they're welcome to come and kind of just hang out and have a little taste of what we do and to see if you know, something that they want to do in
Build
the
their
future.
support network.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to ask you a couple of tough questions. So I want to talk about your business journey. So obviously I know a little bit about it, but when you first decided to start the business, what was your initial reaction? And let's just be raw and vulnerable, you know, go for it.
Holy shit, she really wants me to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to react, and I just have a plan. I was like,
so Angie had this plan, but she didn't need somebody qualified.
Yeah.
She was like, hey, I know somebody.
Yeah, that person's my sister.
Yeah.
But I'd only been like 6 weeks. Macy was 6 weeks.
Wow.
So that was probably like what was holding me back, was that I still wanted a bit more time at home with my baby. but it's paid off because she's now 2.5 and I'm still at home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whereas if we didn't start the business, I would have.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of risk involved.
Yeah.
For both of us.
And it was hard at the beginning. It wasn't
So hard.
It wasn't. It hasn't been.
It hasn't been an easy journey at all.
Yeah.
Financially, and I think Angie and I have learned so much about each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like good and like bad, not bad. It's all coming out. But like we've learned at the beginning, I don't think it felt as good as what it does now.
Oh,
you probably did not know to trust me.
There was lots of clashes.
And you know,
there were so many clashes.
and I was hell bent that, you know, I'm not gonna change my philosophies and whatnot to suit others. And I think that and then Angie had to trust me that what I'm doing and I'm providing for the children is
I don't have an educator's background, so I just had to take what she was telling me as gospel and somehow try to learn what she was going on about and then put that into marketing.
I'm not very good with words. I always say that I can walk the walk, but I can't talk the talk.
It's not true.
So I've got Angie to do the talking and I'll do the heavy lifting.
Yeah. I don't know. But as, you know, obviously you've now starting to really evolve the business even more. And it's gone from not only just having the play, you know, sensory dates and, you know, now you've got your terms and all of that, but now you also have products as well. Like, do you see, like, as you start taking the next leap and you keep going to the next part, do you find yourself still trying to catch up with where the business is going personally as well?
I think that we do things really slow. We don't necessarily operate on the trajectory that I would like to operate on all the time. But we do have, you know, kids in tow, little people in tow that slow that down. I mean, that's the advantage to working for yourself. But that being said, if we hadn't have taken this time, I don't think we would have really established our position within the market and really understanding who we were and what our philosophies were and what it is that we are adding value to. I think it probably took us a good 12 to 18 months to really go, well, no, hang on a minute. What we're doing is really important and it's really special, and we are adding so much value to not only the children's lives but also their parents, because when they leave us they take their learnings away, you know, and so many of them continue to do it at home as their children do go into school, and we receive photos and stuff all the time. You know, we're forever being thanked for what parents have been taught, and it's not that we're there preaching and teaching, it's just what they see through watching the children, just that reminder, you know, that it's okay to get dirty, it's okay to be messy, it's okay to let children take risks. We have to do this in order to learn.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point what you just made, though, is that sometimes when you're in business, it takes time for you to then reflect back of the impact you actually are making, because you're in the go mode, opposed to sometimes we need to stop, pause and reflect back to not only see the growth, but as I said, like the impact that you're making in your own lives, but also, you know, of the lives of the families that you're working with as well.
That's the most rewarding part, I think, of what we do. Especially when we have a child that comes to the term and you know, they might not touch a thing, you know, and so sensory adverse that they just don't want to touch a thing, and then by the end of the term we have them in the mud. And for some children that has taken 3 or 4, their parents have stuck with us because they've slowly seen that progression, or they've seen that change in that confidence, albeit slow, and they've just stuck with it. For me, I think that's super rewarding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
What has been the biggest lesson that you've learned with starting the business? I'm going to make you both answer it, because you're going to have 2 different answers. So,
the biggest lesson that I've learned is, gosh, I feel like I'm going to get emotional, but I feel like that what I do is valued, and that I've always struggled with like learning difficulties and whatnot, and I've never been the brightest, I've never been the smartest, but what I do and what I'm showing people is valued, and that I am valued, and that you know what,
I think you feel more valued in this position than perhaps your previous positions.
Yeah, possibly.
Early educator.
And that, you know, I am smart and I am capable and all those things.
All those things that you're trying to teach to children.
Yes.
Yeah, your strengths are really shining through, and I think that's the biggest thing is that, you know.
Oh, and I have to nobody can make spaghetti. Like dyed spaghetti.
Yeah. And I have to say thanks to Angie for that, because I would never have seen that for myself if she, you know, if she hadn't pushed me. And there were days when I would want to say, you know what, it's because you're being a pain. But it was because she, but because she was pushing me constantly when I went away. And I, because I remember having some anxiety attacks because she asked me to do certain things. I'm like, I can't do that. But when I went away and thought about it, I'm like, well, I can do it, and I am capable of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of arguments. It's not like it hasn't always been, you know, there's been blood, sweat, and a lot of tears.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Especially, you know, I think there's definitely big times that we've both wanted to call it quits because we were worried about our relationship as sisters. And I would always have to say to Case, like, this isn't personal. Although, you know, sometimes we have to do things that are hard because this is business.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it takes a lot too, because I think a lot of people, you know, when you go into business, you don't realise the amount of personal development also that you get from it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of business stuff that you have to learn, and all these different jargon and terms and, you know, with it. But it's that personal development that you get with yourself, and actually realising, you know, what you're capable of and what you can actually do.
Yeah.
So you do start to find out your own inner strengths as well.
Yeah. And your weaknesses.
Yeah.
They become really apparent. And that's really hard to overcome.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably my biggest learning curve. You know, when I suppose when you're in the corporate world, you have a team. There's other people there to pick you up when, you know, you might really be struggling when you're on your own. And I mean, for us, we're lucky we have had each other, but we have a completely separate skill set. Yeah. So when there was areas of the business that, you know, and the business and marketing side of things that I was struggling with, you know, I felt like I was hitting my head against the wall because I didn't have that team of expert advice, you know, those other managers or CEOs or people that specialised in that area that I could lean on. And I certainly struggled with that at times, especially because I'm not a marketer, but I do all of our marketing. You know?
Yeah. You do have to learn quickly on your feet, and
quickly.
Yeah.
You have to learn real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see yourselves in the business within the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Well, 6 to 12 months would probably be right where we are now.
We go like snails. They can just come back on the couch any time, you know.
Yeah, because we do operate. No, about that. We are. We continue to grow and with our products and our classes. So stay full, and we continue to educate the community.
Yeah, see, Casey's goals are like small. My goals are
yeah.
So like, you got to get to one before you get to the next. Yeah, but you can get to the big one.
Yeah, but that's already there.
Yeah.
You're already on this one. So what's next?
Yeah.
You tell me.
I would really like to see us something that we can help teach people at home exactly what we have been able to teach people who come to classes, because obviously we only have the one location. We're a home-based business. Yeah, so I'd really like to be able to expand that offering.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the ultimate goal is I would love to franchise. Yeah. I'd love to see.
Yeah, but she asked us 6 to 12 months.
Maybe it happens in 6 to 12 months.
You never know. If you don't put it out there, I'm a big believer. If you don't put it out there, you never know what's going to happen.
Like a franchise. Every other month we have somebody, every other day I have somebody saying, I wish you were here. I wish you were here. And you know what? We wish we were there too.
Yeah.
We can't be everywhere, but
no.
You know, as you said, what we do is important and valued, and I think there are so many other people that can receive that, can teach those same, because it's everybody believes in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe in it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that offered to more children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Good. I'm glad.
Love it. Just, you know, they're just doing their business meeting right here. You know, let's just map out the future for it.
We tend to just have these conversations.
No, it's great. And I, like, as I said, like, I really want to be a big supporter of what you girls do, because I think it's an incredible business that you're doing. Not only just helping, you know, the parents, but you're helping it by creating this beautiful ripple effect within their family as well, and also within the community. So, yeah, whatever I can do to help and support you, you know, I'm here. And I just want to say thank you for coming over today and joining me here. And it's nice to actually have some company. So, but yeah, and so I'm going to put the details below how you can reach out to Ange and Kaycee, and obviously find out more about Curious Me as well. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your stories. My pleasure, anytime. You know where I live now, so it's all good. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has joined in for this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. And remember to follow your passion and to live life to the fullest every single day. Love and light to you all.